Imagine a world without oil. Cars still move, factories still operate, cities still consume energy. But the fuel has changed, the engine has changed, and the supply chain has changed. Because the next industrial era requires a different resource: lithium, a metal light enough to transform transportation, powerful enough to store energy, and important enough to attract the attention of every major economy on Earth. The electric vehicle depends on it. The battery industry depends on it. The energy transition depends on it. And eventually, entire national strategies begin to depend on it. But beneath the surface, a problem is emerging. The world may have enough lithium. The real question is, who controls the system that turns lithium into power? Because resources create potential, supply chains create leverage, and leverage creates geopolitics.
When people imagine the electric future, they see the final product: the electric vehicle, the battery, the charging station, the solar farm, the wind turbine. These are the visible layers, and visible layers attract attention because they look like progress. But every energy transition begins much earlier, inside the materials, inside the mines, inside the chemical processing, inside the supply chains. Oil once created a global architecture of power: pipelines, refineries, shipping routes, strategic reserves, geopolitical alliances. Lithium is creating something different: a new industrial architecture, one built around batteries, storage, electric mobility, and mineral processing. The world is not simply replacing one fuel with another, it is rebuilding the infrastructure of energy. And every new infrastructure creates new choke points, because the future may run on electricity, but electricity still requires something to store it. And that storage begins with a mineral buried beneath the ground.
Every resource revolution begins with the same assumption: find the deposit, extract the mineral, sell the resource. But the battery economy created a different problem. Raw lithium is not a battery. A lithium deposit is not a battery. And a mine is not an industrial supply chain. The mineral must be extracted, concentrated, processed, purified, and transformed into a material precise enough for modern batteries. This is where the real choke point appears, because the world may have lithium in multiple continents, but usable battery materials require something more: specialized infrastructure, chemical expertise, industrial scale, and years of accumulated knowledge. The mine may be located in one country, the processing may happen in another, the battery may be manufactured somewhere else, and the final vehicle may be sold to the entire world. The supply chain looks global, but power is rarely distributed equally, because the country controlling the transformation often controls the pace of the entire industry. Behind every electric battery, 4 systems quietly determine the outcome. The first is extraction. Lithium must be found, mined, or recovered from concentrated brines. The second is conversion. Raw material must become battery-grade chemicals: lithium carbonate, lithium hydroxide, precise chemical compounds. The third is materials: cathodes, anodes, electrolytes, the components that determine performance. The fourth is manufacturing: the battery cell, the module, the pack, the system that finally stores energy. Most people focus on the mine. The best systems thinkers look at the entire chain, because owning lithium is only the first step. Converting lithium creates value. Processing lithium creates leverage. Manufacturing with lithium creates strategic power. And every layer introduces a new bottleneck. A country may control the resource. Another may control the chemistry. Another may control the battery factory. The final product may belong to someone else entirely. This is why the lithium economy is not a single industry. It is an interconnected system. And the strongest position may not exist at the beginning. It may exist in the middle.
The battery is often treated like a product, but the battery is really an ecosystem. Mining companies, chemical processors, material suppliers, cell manufacturers, automakers, energy companies, recycling networks. Every layer depends on the others. Remove the mine, and supply disappears. Remove the refinery, and raw material accumulates. Remove the cathode supplier, and the cell cannot be completed. Remove the cell factory, and the vehicle cannot move. This is the hidden architecture. The battery economy is not controlled by a single resource. It is controlled by coordination, and coordination creates dependency. The more complex the battery becomes, the more specialized the supply chain becomes. The more specialized the supply chain becomes, the harder it becomes to rebuild. A country can discover a new deposit, but discovery does not create production. A company can announce a new factory, but a factory does not create expertise overnight. A government can invest billions, but capital cannot instantly create an ecosystem, because industrial knowledge compounds, infrastructure compounds, supply chains compound, and eventually, the advantage moves beyond the mineral itself. The real power belongs to the system capable of turning raw lithium into millions of reliable batteries.
Every major economy understands the dependency. Every major economy wants independence. And every major economy faces the same problem. Building a mine takes years. Building a refinery takes longer. Building a battery ecosystem takes even longer. The demand is accelerating. Electric vehicles need more batteries. Grid storage needs more batteries. Industrial systems need more storage. Artificial intelligence needs more data centers, and data centers need more energy. The battery economy is expanding in every direction, but supply chains cannot expand instantly. New deposits require exploration. New mines require permits. New refineries require infrastructure. New factories require expertise. And every delay creates another bottleneck. The world wants to diversify, but diversification is expensive because the existing system already has scale. It has suppliers, it has engineers, it has logistics, it has customers, it has knowledge. A new competitor must rebuild all of it, not one factory, an ecosystem. And ecosystems are difficult to copy. The visible problem appears to be lithium scarcity, but beneath the surface, the real problem is industrial concentration, because the future does not depend only on how much lithium exists. It depends on how quickly the world can transform lithium into usable energy storage.
Many people call lithium the new oil, but the comparison is incomplete. Oil was valuable because it could be extracted, transported, refined, and burned. Lithium is valuable because it can become storage, and storage changes everything. Energy can be generated in one place, but it cannot always be used at the same time. Batteries solve that problem. They transform intermittent energy into usable energy. They connect transportation to electricity. They connect renewable power to the grid. They connect technology to storage. And that changes the strategic value of the mineral. Because lithium is not simply fuel, it is infrastructure. The real power does not come from owning a pile of lithium. It comes from controlling the system that transforms lithium into energy storage at scale. That is the hidden shift. The resource is only the beginning. The battery is the architecture, and the architecture determines who controls the future.
The strongest resource positions are rarely built around extraction alone. They are built around transformation. The mine creates supply. The refinery creates usability. The battery factory creates scale. The network creates dependency. This is the mindset shift. Stop asking who has the most lithium. Start asking who can transform lithium the fastest. Stop asking where are the largest deposits. Start asking where does the industrial ecosystem already exist? Because scale creates leverage. Leverage creates dependency. Dependency creates strategic power. The next century may run on electricity, but electricity requires storage. Storage requires batteries. Batteries require materials, and materials require architecture. The country that controls the resource may influence the beginning. The country that controls the transformation may influence the entire system. Because the future is not controlled only by whoever owns the fuel. It is controlled by whoever controls the infrastructure that makes the fuel useful. Most people look at the energy transition and see electric vehicles, batteries, solar panels, wind turbines, smart grids. But beneath every visible technology, another system quietly operates. The material layer, the chemical layer, the manufacturing layer, the infrastructure layer. Because the electric future is not created by electricity alone. It requires storage, and storage requires materials. ASML controls a critical machine. CUDA controls a critical software ecosystem. Manufacturing determines whether technology can scale. Rare earth processing determines whether raw materials become strategic inputs. And lithium sits at the center of a new energy architecture, not because it is the only material that matters, but because the battery economy depends on the ability to transform it at scale. The mine is only the beginning. The refinery creates usability. The battery factory creates scale. The energy network creates dependency. And together, they create a new geopolitical system. This is the real lesson of the lithium race. The future is not controlled only by whoever discovers the next resource. It is controlled by whoever builds the infrastructure that turns that resource into power. Because every energy transition creates new choke points. Oil created pipelines, gas created terminals, electricity created grids. The battery economy is creating something new, a global architecture built around storage. And the countries that control that architecture may influence the speed of the next industrial revolution. This is Silicon Capital, where technology is never just technology. It is materials, it is infrastructure, it is energy, it is geopolitics, and it is power engineered through systems. NEXERA, Decoding Systems, Architecting Wealth.